Today, I want to talk about the origins of the Philistines. There have been a number of arguments back and forth for decades. However, the science is now becoming clear based on archaeology as well as the DNA evidence. The Philistines are not native to the Middle East. They are not original settlers of the land of Israel. They are originally from Europe. So in part 1, I want to introduce you to my source and discuss some of the newer evidence, and I'll do part 2, which discusses more of the DNA evidence. I want to thank my subscribers who've supported me financially. Thank you very, very much. I've been able to purchase storage now. I've been able to buy equipment and software and other things that I've needed. So yeah, thank you very much to all of you for that. This is the Biblical Archaeology Society, and this is their library. This is an article that I found called Piece by Piece, Exploring the Origins of the Philistines. So this little headline here says, the Philistines have gone down in history as ancient Israel's arch-enemy. Yet there were much more than that. We've uncovered their cities, their temples, their houses, their weapons, tools, and pots, and recently remains of the Philistines themselves. Because they've discovered graves with Philistines in them, they can now trace the DNA. Thanks to new DNA analysis, we can now answer questions about the Philistines' origins. So, yeah, this is part of the BAS library, and thanks again to my subscribers, I've been able to afford an annual subscription. So again, thank you very much. I'm very grateful for that. This is the BAS website. Right. This is what they publish. They collect articles that relate to archaeology that would be relevant to the Bible. Right. So please do check out their website. And a little bit about them, if you go to the About page. They were founded in 1974 as a non-profit, non-denominational, educational organization dedicated to the dissemination of information about archaeology in Bible lands. They educate the public about archaeology and the Bible through the quarterly magazine, Biblical Archaeology Review. And this was their most recent Spring 2022 edition. Piece by piece, exploring the origins of the Philistines. I'll be covering this, and I will make a brief mention of this because I will cover this article, Jesus in Arabia, tracing the spread of Christianity into the desert. So, short introduction to this. Our project may have found the earliest reference to Christian belief amongst the ancient Arabs. This looks like a 4th century reference in Arabia. And what is fascinating about the inscriptions in Safaitic is that the name of Jesus within the inscriptions on the rocks, they call Jesus Isa, but more on that later. So yeah, and this is the article here. So again, you have to belong to the BAS library, you have to be a subscriber. I believe it's about $10 or $12 a year. It's well worth it. I find it very, very helpful. So, but that aside, let me jump in to the article. So who were the Philistines and where did they come from? This is called Investigating the Biblical and Archaeological Evidence for the Philistines' Origins. This is Philistine pottery. These pieces are from Ashkelon and they bear early Philistine decorations. So here you've got Jerusalem. This is Ashkelon right here. Actually, let me go to Google Maps. Let me bring that up. Google Earth. And let's go find Ashkelon if I can spell correctly. And there's Ashkelon. So here's the Dead Sea, the Qumran caves. Here's Jerusalem. This is Ashkelon right here on the coast. Right. So in the Bible, the Philistines are remembered as an uncircumcised people with advanced technology and a formidable military. We see those in Judges 14:3, 1 Samuel 13, and Exodus 13. The Philistines frequently encroached on Israelite territory, which led to battles, including the famous clash between David the Israelite and Goliath the Philistine, 1 Samuel 17. They were condemned for being idol worshippers and soothsayers. In short, the Philistines are portrayed negatively. They lived in the cities of Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, Gath, and Gaza, all of them close to the coast because they were a sea people. They arrived by sea. This was the heartland of ancient Philistia on the Mediterranean Sea's southeastern shore. These cities have been excavated in recent decades, and the findings show that the Philistines had distinct pottery, weapons, tools, and houses. Also, they ate pork, which tells us they were good Muslims. and they had vast trade networks. So they were influenced by, and they would have influenced other cultures whom they traded with. This is how information as well as religious ideas flowed through these trade networks. The Philistine culture flourished during the Iron Age from the 12th to the 6th century BC, and similar to the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, the Philistines lost their autonomy towards the end of the Iron Age. They became subservient and they paid tribute to the Assyrians, the Egyptians, and then the Babylonians, the great superpowers of the region who severely punished rebellion. So, for example, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar destroyed disloyal Ashkelon and Ekron and carried off many Philistines into exile. So, where did the Philistines come from? This is a Philistine portrait. This is a confederation of island tribes, which includes the Paliset, or the Philistines. They attacked Egypt in the 12th century BC, and this relief from Medinet Habu. Let's have a look at where Medinet Habu can be found. Right, I'll go back to Google here. So Medinet Habu is on the Nile. You'll see it's down here. This is Medinet Habu, so they actually traveled all the way down the Nile. Let's zoom out a little bit. And you'll see these are harbors from way back in the day, ancient harbors. And the trade route went along here. This is Jerusalem, Qumran caves, and so on. And this is Alexandria, and you can see they actually sailed all the way down the Nile. They attacked down here. Right. So this relief records a sea battle between the two forces. In his article, Daniel Master looks at archaeological and biblical evidence for the Philistines' origins. He considers the accounts at Ramesses III's mortuary temple at Medinet Habu in the 12th century BC during the reign of Ramesses III. A confederation of tribes from the islands of the northern countries attacked Egypt several times, both on sea and on land. The Peliset, whom scholars connect with the Philistines, was named as one of these tribes. On the way to Egypt, the confederation traveled through the eastern Mediterranean and destroyed numerous cities, including Ugarit on the Syrian coast. If we go back to Google, what you'll find is that they traveled from Greece. They would have traveled across here, and then they came down this way, moving across here and back. So, well, we'll see that in a moment. Ugarit, by the way, Ugarit would have been part of Syria. So Ugarit is this region out here. Right. So they destroyed numerous cities, including Ugarit on the Syrian coast. Amurapi, the last king of Ugarit, had written to surrounding kingdoms for help when the 7 ships of the enemy had arrived to ransack his kingdom. By the time help had come, though, it was too late. Ugarit was in ruins. These are some of the scenes here that were occurring. This massive sea battle. You see these people arriving on boats, attacking the land. Battleships. This drawing of a relief at Medinet Habu shows a sea battle between the Egyptians and people from the islands who had invaded Egypt in the 12th century BC. Egypt defeated the confederation, as recorded in one of the temple walls at Medinet Habu. A relief from that temple also depicts a sea battle between the island tribes and the Egyptians. In it, the islanders wear distinct headdresses, which clearly set them apart from the Egyptians. After being defeated, some of these tribes settled on the southern coast of Canaan, in what would become the land of the Philistines. Egyptian sources now seem to record a migration of people from islands to Philistia. Master examines the evidence for Philistine origins in the Bible. The biblical authors remembered the Philistines as coming from a foreign land called Kaftor. Right, a foreign land called Kaftor. Genesis 10:14, Deuteronomy 2:23, 1 Chronicles 1:12, Amos 9:7, Jeremiah 47:4. Now, scholars have long drawn a connection between Kaftor and the island of Crete. This is the island of Crete here. This is Greece, Turkey. This is the city of Troy. This is Cyprus. This is Egypt. This is Ashkelon. Right, Jerusalem will be in this area here. So it seems they traveled from Crete. This is now the reigning, well, this is what the evidence now points to. So this is largely based on Egyptian inscriptions and paintings of Keftiu from the 15th and 14th century BC, with a Keftiu linked to the Minoan civilization, which was centered on Crete. So this migration map, who were the Philistines and where did they come from? New archaeological evidence suggests that many of the Philistines originally came from Crete, called Kaftor in the Bible. So, right, let's have a look here. The Philistines Upon the Seas by Tristan Baracco. Right, this is from an article in the BAR, right, July-August 2003. So you've got from Greece mainland, they settled in Crete, they moved across towards Turkey, Cyprus. They either attacked or they settled in these places. Ugarit, clearly they destroyed Ugarit here on the coast. They entered into Canaan and they moved into Egypt. Excavations have shown that the Philistines had a distinct assemblage of artifacts. Master notes parallels between some early Philistine objects, especially from the 12th and 11th centuries BC, and Aegean and Cypriot artifacts. Elements from Philistine material culture then also hint at an Aegean or Mediterranean origin for the Philistines. So we're looking at an Aegean or Mediterranean origin for the Philistines. I'll mark that in blue. New evidence from Ashkelon further supports this connection. The Leon Levy expedition excavated in Ashkelon from 85 to 2016 under the direction of the late Lawrence Stager at Harvard University. For the last decade, Daniel Master co-directed excavations. They found some infant burials from the 12th century BC, as well as the Philistine cemetery with burials from the 11th through the 8th centuries BC. I'm just going to change 8th to a number just to make it a little easier. I'm going to change that. That makes it 12th. Right. So teaming up with scientists at the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History, they were able to analyze DNA from 7 of these individuals. When they looked at the 12th century infants' DNA, they discovered that the infants had some European ancestry. The infants had some European ancestry. Crete proved to be one of the best matches for the infants' heritage when considering all of their genetic material. Yet other places in the Western Mediterranean also provided a good match. In this example, Iberia, which would be Spain. So now you're looking at Europeans from across Europe, from Spain as well as Greece, or Crete specifically. So this is very, very interesting. So they're not native to Palestine. They are from Europe. So they clearly were invaders, because Palestine comes from Plishtim, which means invaders. That's what the Hebrews called them, invaders. Interestingly, in the later individuals from Ashkelon Cemetery, this European ancestry has been so diluted to barely register. Master explains that by the 10th century BC, enough intermarriage had taken place between the Philistines and the local Levantine population that the Philistines looked a lot like their neighbors. While there was some evidence of the same Western European hunter-gatherer genetic input, for statistical purposes it could not be identified for certain. The best models showed that these people, the 10th and 9th century individuals buried in Ashkelon Cemetery, were descendants of both the 12th century inhabitants and the earlier Bronze Age inhabitants. It appears from these results that so much intermarriage had taken place between the original immigrants and the people around them that the genetic makeup of Ashkelon's inhabitants had lost its immigrant distinctiveness. So through intermarriage they started to look like their neighbors. Their distinctive European look was now starting to assimilate with that of the Semites within that region. Yet Master clarifies, at this point in history, the Philistines still thought of themselves as distinct, as culturally distinct. This is evident in a 7th century inscription from Philistine city of Ekron. The inscription names Ekron's kings as Ikaosu, which means Achaean or Greek. I'm going to make this bold again. It's highlighted, but I'm going to bold this. The inscription names Ekron's king as Ikaosu, which means Achaean or Greek. The name Ikaosu or Achish also appears in 1 Samuel 21:10 as Gath's king. The Philistines remembered their foreign origins. So the Philistines were aware of their origins from outside of that area, outside of the Levant, outside of Israel. Master concludes that the new DNA evidence, coupled with the biblical and archaeological testimonies, suggests that the Philistines originated in Crete. So that is not to say they were a homogeneous group, all coming from the Aegean world, but it seems that many Philistines did indeed migrate from there, bringing with them vestiges of Minoan culture. We can learn more about this ancient people in Daniel M. Master's article, Piece by Piece, Exploring the Origins of the Philistines, published in the spring 2022 issue of Biblical Archaeology Review. Right? So this article was called Who Were the Philistines and Where Did They Come From? Investigating the biblical and archaeological evidence for the Philistines' origins. Right. Later on, I will go through this second article here, piece by piece, exploring the origins of the Philistines. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope this was enlightening and starts to settle this long argument, and it shows that the Philistines are from outside of the area now today called Palestine. They are foreign invaders, and the Palestinians there today are not the original. Yeah, they're not original to the land. They are from outside. And in fact, many of them are just Arabs who've just taken on this name. So if they want to go back to their homeland, they need to return to Crete. Right, thanks very much. Take care. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.